Hello everyone, my name is Val Verhuntz. I'm the Director of Instruction here at Peacock Gap and at Foxtail Golf Club, and also the head golf coach at Sonoma State University. And welcome to the NCGA Skills Clinics. Today I'm going to show you a couple things regarding bunkers, and I'm going to kind of walk through the process of how to hit a bunker shot, okay? Typically when we think about bunkers, we are talking about greenside bunkers. I'll cover some of the other stuff a little bit later, but mainly it's about the greenside bunker today. So first off, I want to kind of just share with you the reasons why a lot of players in general will have two different types of wedges. And in this case, I have a 58-degree wedge in this hand. This wedge here has about 8 degrees of bounce, and this is a 54-degree that has 14 degrees of bounce. And the reason I have two different wedges is a lot of times when we play golf courses, we have bunkers that have different types or varying types of sand. Sometimes they're wet, sometimes they're dry, sometimes they're real fluffy. So the bunkers like we have today are a little bit wet and so forth. So I'm going to use a wedge that in this case has very little bounce to it. Okay, if it was dry and fluffy, I'd be using a wedge with a little bit more bounce into it. Also, to affect the distance in which the ball is going to be hit, a 58 is going to be a shot that I'm going to use, or a wedge I'm going to use if the pin is a little bit closer, a 54 for something maybe a little longer, and then I can even go to my gap wedge, which is 50 degrees. That being said about the equipment, let me share with you a couple ideas about how to set up to the ball correctly. So when I'm setting up to the ball, and I'm going to grab one here and put it in front of us here, I always think about the idea of a clock. And what I mean by that is I think of a clock in relationship to the idea that if my pin is located at 12 o'clock, all right, I'm going to set up square with my club face to that target. I'm also going to have the ball positioned relative to my stance right in the center to start with. Once I'm in this position, I'm going to then make some adjustments. So I always set up square, and the adjustments are really simple. All I'm going to do is move the ball up in my stance about one ball, all right? I'm going to take the face of my golf club, instead of pointing to 12 o'clock to the target, I'm going to point it to 1 o'clock. And then I'm going to take my body, which would be my feet, knees, hips, and shoulders, and I'm going to turn everything towards 11 o'clock. That's going to assure me that I'm in the proper setup position. The next thing I'm going to do, depending on the sand, is if I dig my feet in a little bit, I feel my feet go down about a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to grip down just slightly on my club so I have a little bit more of a gap on the end. All right, if I go down a little further, I'm going to grip down a little bit further, okay? But in general, just about a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch is all I'm going to do. At that point, once I'm in the bunker, I think the biggest thing to do and remember in the sand trap is to establish stability. And what I mean by that is to feel your legs not moving around a lot. We want to feel very stable. And I like to see players use what I call cowboy knees, which are the knees are out like this, and it creates a wide base for yourself. Okay? Once you're in this position, it's pretty easy then to just make the swing with the concept of just letting your arms swing back and through the shot. Now, when we're doing this, it seems a little bit, I don't know, it might be a little uncharacteristic to have a very big swing, but in this case here, in the bunker, you really need to create speed. So you really want to have a big swing. You don't want to have a swing in which you feel like you're just trying to get the ball out and so forth. We can vary how far we open the face of the golf club as well to make sure the distances are adjusted. So for example, again, we started with 12, we opened to 1. If I want to open to 2, I can do that. That would make the ball vary in its distance as well, okay? So, and in that case there, when we're doing things like that, again, I want to make sure you understand that we're using our legs to create stability in our swing, okay? So that being said, I'm going to take these away for just a second, and we'll revisit that in a moment. One of the things that I think we all should practice and make sure that we're comfortable in doing is a little drill where we're just going to kind of call it walk the line, if you want to call it the Johnny Cash drill or whatnot. But what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to establish the consistency of how our club hits the sand. So if I have variations of how my club is going to hit the sand and so forth, I'm going to have an inconsistency in how I'm going to, or how the ball is going to come out. One of the things I want you to understand as well is that when you're using your wedges in the sand and or in the grass, you have what we call the leading edge right here, and you have your trailing edge, okay? And in both cases, you're going to get the different depth of sand. So the more my leading edge hits into the sand, the deeper the club is going to go. The more the trailing edge hits in the sand, the shallower it's going to go. So I prefer to actually be a little more shallow than steep or deep. So when we talk about hitting the line or walking the line here, I'm going to open that face like we suggested, and I'm going to start with my body right in the middle of this line we have here. I'm going to move it a little bit forward. I'm going to get my kind of cowboy knees out, and when I make my swing, I'm going to see where that club hits the sand, okay? And then I'm just going to walk the line, and I'm going to try to make sure that every time my club hits, okay, it hits in the same spot. So you see that second one was different than the first one, okay? Those first, the second and third are pretty close, and the third and fourth one are pretty much the same. So the first one I hit a little behind. The next three, you can see relative to the line, the club entered in about the same spot. So this is a really helpful drill. If that drill has one club hitting back here, has one club hitting over there, you can imagine the variation you're going to have in the shot making, okay? So with that being said, we use that drill to kind of help us, again, establish the stability and the swing itself. So when we come back to hitting our shots now, one of the things we can do is we can use a little method to practice how we're going to hit some of these shots. And I like this for especially the beginners out there that are having trouble just getting the ball out of the sand. I like to take the ball and I just create a little mound, okay, kind of like a little hill, a little castle, and I put the ball on top of that. And we primarily do this just to kind of get the feeling of when we're striking the sand correctly. So again, all I'm trying to do is tell people to hit the mound of sand. And so if I have my pin location out there, I'll move the ball a little bit up. In this case here, we won't open the face a lot, maybe a little bit more towards 1 o'clock, but staying nice and stable with my legs. And I hit the ball off the top of the sand mound, okay? And then we can do that again and consistently just kind of make sure that you feel like what you're doing is making contact to the sand, not to the ball. So once again, as I come into the shot, I sit up pretty square, opening up a little bit, and as I hit that sand, okay, I get that nice kind of thump out of the sand. All right, so now again, I'm going to explain to you one more thing here, and again, it's just to go back to what we talked about initially. When I am in the bunker, I'm always starting with the same process every time. So I'm going to make sure that when I line up to the ball, I start off square, okay? I move the ball forward first, I open the face second, and then I open my body last. Create the cowboy knees that I discussed, staying nice and stable, creating some speed, and having the ball come out. I hope these skill tips that I gave you will help you with your sand play. Thank you.